reality transurfing about 5 years ago. And at the time when I found it, I was in a place where I really didn't know what was going on with my reality. I was very lost. I was just kind of living without any direction, and I had made a pretty big mess of things, but I'd also done a lot of stuff right. So I was kind of confused as to why I had gained some success in certain areas, but then I was feeling so depleted energetically and no heart and mind coherence and all sorts of kind of emotional chaos, really, and chaos of the soul, chaos of the heart, like not feeling as though I was living a version of myself that was ideal. I knew that was the issue. I just didn't know how to connect with a more ideal version of myself. So I started this path of discovery, not really knowing where to look. And then I just kind of stumbled upon reality transurfing accidentally. And it was like fireworks and like a door had opened. And I kind of knew that something really remarkable was happening. I just had no idea how remarkable it was actually going to become. And ever since then, it's been a trip. I have completely transformed my worldview, my ideas about myself, my environment, my relationship to it, how I interact with others, where I work from internally, how much my mind has a say in things, as opposed to now my heart being the one sort of leading the way. A lot of my ideas about will and ego have completely dissolved. Duality is almost non-existent in my worldview now, which has really opened the doors to a lot of freedom, a lot of freedom from just dualistic thinking, really, good and bad. And, I've got two choices. One's going to be a bad one and one's going to be a right one, that sort of thinking. And now I'm sort of leading from an entirely new place via reality transurfing, and things just continually, like day by day, seem to get better and better and better. And my Metapower, if you're familiar with that term, has been just growing beyond anything that I've ever even thought was, I didn't even understand what Metapower was. And now it's just exponentially seeming to increase every day. And things just sort of happen to me now. And I don't mean happen in like, definitely not a victim kind of way, but in an opposite sort of way, where I will create something pretty massive and somebody will say to me, "Oh, how'd you do that?" And I'll say, "I don't know. It just kind of happened. Like things just seem to be igniting in my reality." And it's, I could go on about how my life has transformed, but really what my mission at this point is to help others at least get headed in the right direction of how to transform their own using these concepts. So that's my mission at this point.
So could you give us a glimpse into how one would go about practicing reality transurfing, a little bit more about what it's about for maybe some of our members who don't exactly know?
Well, let me just see a show of hands. Who here has heard of the term reality transurfing? Okay, so a few people. So what reality transurfing is it's kind of like a self-development system that's based in the quantum field, science, metaphysics. It's using practical metaphysics to enhance your experience of living, really. And it's about you sort of lifting the veil off of what we are programmed to believe, how we typically see reality, how we typically view. And when I say typically, I know some of you are probably, you know, pretty evolved and aware human beings, so you already get a sense of this, but the masses of the world really don't, right? They're convinced that reality is one sort of static way that exists. That's the way, you know, you see something on the news and that's what's happening, and you know, you take a pen and you drop it off the desk and it falls to the floor and it hits the floor in a normal way, that's how reality functions. But there's a whole other realm of how things move, cause and effect. And really what it boils down to is your ability to make that effect, right? To do something, to be effective, or to see something almost magical in your life sort of happen with very, very little effort on your part. It's using the power that exists beyond you, the space outside of you, the alternative space, and what we call outer intention, which is your world presenting to you certain things. And with a heightened state of awareness, your ability to see these opportunities and tap into them, therefore enhancing your experience in life, starts to exponentially sort of increase. But it all has to do with kind of taking that load of burden that you wanting something, or wanting to experience something, or just having an experience in life, or wanting to create a new trajectory for yourself, or become something, be somebody, whatever it is, you taking that off of you, like you're the one that has to do that, and really trusting and opening yourself up to your external environment, that your external environment will actually do most of it for you. You just have to tune in to the various things that will present themselves. And we do this with our state of awareness, and also via certain sensations we get as transurfers. Heart and mind coordination, or heart and mind coherence, is a big one. And using all of this sort of stuff in conjunction with, you know, all the concepts are sort of tied together. And once you gain, the way that I like to say it is this: when you start transurfing, it's almost like you're building a puzzle, and that puzzle is going to form a new image of reality for you. And each puzzle piece is one of the concepts. And as you sort of start piecing them together, reality looks very, very different. Your puzzle sort of starts to come together. And yeah, it's pretty mind-blowing. I mean, for those of you that are familiar with the book, it's a big, huge Bible-sized book. There are about 16 core concepts in there. And once you learn those in the book sort of just reiterates the same thing. Vadim Zeland's attempt to kind of reprogram the brain and take off a lot of those layers of past programming. And you really just start to see yourself and your reality, your external environment, in an entirely different way.
And just so to confirm, the name of that book is Reality Transurfing?
Reality Transurfing Steps 1 through 5 is the name of the book, yeah.
That's fantastic. I think we'll probably all be reading that. Now, you had said something about Metapower, building your Metapower. Could you explain that a little more? Because I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, so what your Metapower is like, there's various places that you can cultivate power. You can cultivate power from your ego or your will, which can be very exhausting, and it's really hard to maintain. You can cultivate power from your external environment. That would be like somebody helping you or an opportunity presenting itself or something like that. That's external intention or outer intention. But as transurfers, we use what we refer to as metapower. And metapower is, oh, wow, nobody's actually asked me to explain it before, so this is going to be very interesting, me attempting to actually explain it. What metapower is it's your ability, it's a power within you that's not coming from the will or ego. It's like you sort of tapping into the ultimate version of you, like the highest version of you. And then there's a power that starts to generate, and you're using this. You're not necessarily doing anything. You're not, again, you're not enforcing your will on your external environment. You're not striving. You're not trying to do something. You're simply using your meta power in conjunction with your external environment to see an effect happen. And for any of you, I know Kyle, you're on the group. If you see what I'm doing right now, like I'm gaining, a pretty big following of people on the Facebook group and YouTube and my other social media outlets. And I'm getting a lot of energy going and circulating and getting a movement going. And really all I'm doing is I'm fueling my external environment with this meta power, and my environment is responding to this power, but I'm not seemingly doing anything. Like I'm not some magical kind of person. I'm not doing anything that's extraordinary. I'm just harnessing my meta power. So there's a number of ways that you can get meta power. For those of you that are familiar with Gurdjieff's teachings, there's some do you guys know G.I. Gurdjieff? He is another Russian mysticist. He has a theory that falls along the same lines as the center screen theory that Vadim Zeland presents to us. And that is that most people typically live in one of two worlds. They either live in the external world, which is you being, influenced by what you're seeing or what you're hearing. This is you getting triggered by external factors, right? Like the media or social media or being social or whatever. This is you. This is where extroverts typically find themselves, right? Is in the external world. Then we have our internal world, which is where introverts typically find themselves. So this is like, overthinking or being lost in thought or daydreaming or, living in your mind. So we have kind of these two different worlds that we primarily exist in, either the outer world or the inner world. And there's another realm, which is called the center world or the center screen in the transurfing modality. And the more you can exist in this center screen, pulled away from yourself and pulled away from your outer world, you can maximize your efficiency and effectiveness in this center screen. And this is really where the meta power is truly like, it becomes extreme, the amount of meta power that you can cultivate and harness for yourself, and become pretty powerful in a very short period of time. I mean, I've done this in the last 5 years, and specifically in the last year since I read Tufte Live Stroll Through a Movie. It is a remarkable book for really just becoming a more powerful human being and cutting yourself off from different things that want to use your power to benefit them, right? This is the big one in the transurfing modality. It's like either you use your power for yourself and do something with it, or somebody or something or some entity is going to extract it from you and is going to use it to further its cause. And you can take it back and sort of like, corral in your meta power staying in the center screen. And it's pretty wild what happens when you follow it. It's but it's a practice. It really is a practice.
Yeah. So I am big into like kind of following the trends in spirituality. And, like 10 years ago, like the power of now is huge. And then Joe Dispenza came out, and everybody started doing Joe Dispenza stuff. My life transformed because of it. And I really reached out to you because reality transurfing, from my observation standpoint, is like the new trending spiritual wave. And I'm just curious if you could give me like kind of an example or some examples of how you've seen it transform people's lives.
Oh, wow. Gosh. Well, I mean, I guess the really trippy thing is, I could talk a lot about, and you could go on to Amazon and just read the book reviews and see
Mm,
stuff that people have said, like you could talk about the big things, right? I could talk about the big things right now, like people have materialized, because here's the thing about transurfing versus, because a lot of people are like, well, is it the law of attraction?
mm,
It's like law of attraction on steroids, really,
mm,
because there's a bunch of pieces that are filled in that law of attraction lacks. That's why a lot of people don't really, I mean, the law of attraction's big by popularity, but do you really hear people like, oh, the law of attraction totally changed my life, right? On its own, it's a modality. Whereas transurfing,
mm.
you'll definitely hear people be like, oh my God, reality transurfing totally changed my life. And you could go into it and like dissect how it's changed people's lives. It's really, really good for, it's a goal-based modality. So getting the goal that's specific for you, who you are as an individual, like who you really, really, really are deep down inside, tapping into that, and then dialing directly in to something that's intended for you, like this is intended for me. And when you can do that, your promise of success is like pretty big, because you're just kind of tapping right into specifically what's intended for you. And when you do that, it's explosive results. So you could say professionally, it's really, especially for entrepreneurs, it's huge. With relationships, it's really big. You either can transform a relationship that you're challenged with, or that needs help in some way, connecting with other people. It's really amazing. But at the same time, if it's time to move on from something, reality transurfing will absolutely show you without a doubt it's time to move on. Like no ambiguity there at all. So professional stuff for sure, relationship stuff for sure. But I'd say the biggest thing that transurfing does for people is it just helps people to see what reality actually is. And
Mm.
so many people do not understand what reality is, that if you go from being, running on a typical program, which was me, right? When I found transurfing 5 years ago, I was very confused. I'm like, I don't understand. It seems like I'm doing everything right. So why am I unhappy? Why do things not seem to be working out? Why do I hate my job? Why do I have failed relationship after failed relationship? There were like all these questions, like my intentions seemed to be good. And what we sort of, I think one of the really sad part, not to take this in a sad direction or anything, but one of the sad parts of being a human is this idea that if your life's messed up, then it must be something that you're doing, right? That you need to change something about yourself.
Mm.
Whereas reality transurfing shows us that it's not about that at all. In order for you to change your life and change your reality, you need to actually become more like yourself, not less like yourself. You need to become more like yourself and start really respecting who you are. Don't ever, reality transurfing is awesome because all your flaws, all your idiosyncrasies, anything you don't like about yourself, anything that anybody's had a problem with in the past about you, any of that stuff, it's actually like you just start owning it even more and really become more immersed in that. And then when you do that and you push through that space of having any sort of adversity or what's the word I'm looking for? Any sort of friction with yourself, and really just kind of going into it even harder. I know this is going to sound weird, but it makes life so good. It's like super weird. I mean, all the stuff that I fought myself on for so many years, I was like, that was the thing that was actually causing the imbalance in my life. And once I accepted who I was, and I really just dove deeply into who I was, and then stopped with my own will on trying to like see results in my life via my will, and just kind of released and let my world do its thing with me doing my thing of who I really am. I mean, 5 years later, my mind's blown. My mind's like totally blown, to the point where I talk about it to everybody and people are following it and they're like seeing it too. So I think that that's the thing that's kind of the biggest result, is the fact that it's not about trying to do something to change something about your life or yourself. It's actually a modality where you start to strip away and take away and do less. And in doing less and allowing yourself to be more of who you are, you actually gain more. And it's the opposite of what everybody else is doing. That's why I think that's why it's the kind of the hottest thing right now, is because it's the opposite of what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, you just sold me, and I'm gonna get down with reality transurfing 100%.
Dude, you're not down with it already? You're in the
I'm
group?
down. I'm observing, but now I'm going all
Okay,
in.
got it.
I had to
You're
fill you
all
out
in. Got
first.
it.
Had to fill you out. So you talk a little bit too in your bio. It said alternative space adventurer. So
Yeah.
what's that about? Like, it sounds incredible.
So yeah, so the alternative space is like, it's our platform that we work from as
Mm,
Transurfers. Alternative space is everything outside of us, including us. It's everything that has been, is now, and will be in the future. It's where everything comes from. It's where ideas generate, languages come from, inventions, every possible variation of reality exists in the alternative space. So if you imagine it kind of like a giant grid, and there's like all sorts of different variations of just like this exact same event right now is playing out in a different variation of reality that we could tap into when we fill in the specific conditions to tap into another variation. So like there's another variation of reality where this goes horribly wrong, right? And then there's another variation of reality where this goes really, really, really good. And we can sort of shift that around, like we're dialing like a receiver or like a big radio, or messing with antennas on a TV, like old TVs, right? You
mm,
can tune to different variations of reality. It's essentially tapping into parallel realities. So that's
mm,
exactly what I've done with my life. Like I woke up one morning and I kind of thought, this isn't my life, and I don't know who I am, and I don't know what I'm doing. And then I found these concepts and I realized, oh, I can tap into another variation of reality that I like then. So the first step in tapping into one of these variations of reality is to acknowledge and know and feel that that variation of reality does in fact exist. So then you're sort of setting the vector of the flow in which direction you're going to head in, right? This is the
mm,
surfing part. So then you use the concepts and sort of tune your own stuff. The way that I like to say it is this: you accept the variation of reality exists, then your thoughts have to be in line with that variation of reality. Your frequency has to be in line with that variation of reality. And then your actions have to be in line with the direction of that variation of
mm.
reality. And in a very, very short period of time, and I've done this, and I'm doing it right now, you can create a you can tap into a variation of reality in a pretty short period of time, and all of a sudden experience something pretty wild. And like, if you were to see me 5 years ago compared to this moment now, you would understand exactly why you would see exactly what I'm doing and why it's pretty phenomenal. You'd be like, wait a second, that person 5 years ago doesn't match up with this person now. So what did she do? I just fulfilled the certain requirements or conditions, and then all of a sudden I'm like leading a movement of people and doing this thing and meeting the author and being this big personality. And I'm not anybody remarkable or special. I'm just using the concepts to do this. So it's kind of like playing a video game or something. I don't know how else to describe it. It's essentially, life becomes like a game.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. This will be the last question for me before we open it up.
Okay.
But to our collective. But do you ever have to like give any disclaimers, or because as I'm hearing you speak, it's kind of wild. I've been practicing like quantum jumping, parallel jumping.
Yeah, it's essentially quantum
it's real.
jumping.
You
Yep.
can completely rattle your life and jump into a whole nother realm overnight. And I'm sure you
Mm-hmm.
get people that will reach out to you and be like,
I had one last night.
yeah, what happened?
Yeah, some chick messages me on instant messenger, and she goes, oh my God. She's like, I need your help. I've gotten myself into a lot of trouble. She's like, I will pay you anything. This is what she says to me. And I said to her, I said, well, tell me what happened. I don't need money, but like, tell me what happened and I'll try to point you in the right direction. Right. She's like, I tried to shift to a parallel reality and it went horribly wrong and I can't make sense. She's like, I just keep hitting my head against the wall and things seem really bizarre and I don't know if I should like call a doctor or what I should do. And she was super vague about what was going on. And I said, I think you should call a doctor and continue to read Reality Transurfing steps 1 through 5. But I had no clue. Like, I didn't want to get too into it. And that's kind of why I created the Facebook group and you know, all these different formats where there's a lot of support, because I simply cannot. I mean, when I started it 5 years ago, I have a joke, like my Instagram account, I had 10 followers. 9 of them didn't know what Reality Transurfing was. And I was trying to convince them how cool it was. And one chick from Saudi Arabia had read the book and knew what it was. And that was the account, right? So back then I could nurse people along. Now it's gotten so huge and out of control, I simply can't. But yes, I have like anybody that I do one-on-one with, I have them sign first of all, they got to sign an NDA. Then secondly, they need to sign a release of liability, because I simply cannot be responsible anything that happens to people, because I've heard some really, really crazy stuff for sure. Yes, it is serious, no joke. You could, what I'd like to tell people is that myself, I have ended up in a position that I never in a million years would have dreamt this could be my reality right now. So you should come to this prepared that you have no idea what can possibly happen to you. And I've heard some really, really wild stuff. So that's a very good question. It happens.
It's powerful. And you're going to be looking to hire some therapists in your Facebook group. So at this point, we open it up. I think Kristen had a question.
Yes, I do. So is there like a formula for the reality transurfing, or is it really becoming conscious of your thought process and your state of being, and then intentionally shifting your state of being to match the frequency of your desired reality? Or is there like an actual formula for the process of transurfing?
So I'll just run through the 10 concepts super fast to sort of, because I know it's like, it's a little ambiguous how I'm describing it. And it is a big book and there are a number of concepts, but once you start to learn them, you see that one sort of flows into the next. So the first concept is the alternative space. Again, this is the big, huge, vast space that we have to work from. And we sort of view this in the transurfing community as like our treasure chest. This is where you can pull opportunities and adventure and material stuff and events and all sorts of things from. So how I like to envision it is that on any given day, I have 10 levels of reality that I can experience. The bottom level is like bottom out, depressed, everything's gone horribly wrong, my frequency is down, I'm not doing well, my thought quality is down. And then level 10 is like the top one. This is what we as transurfers call the wave of fortune. This is when your thought quality, your frequency, and your action all remains high for an extended period of time. And you hit this thing called the wave of fortune, where you just get like this cascade of awesome events that seem to roll in like one after another, after another, after another. You don't have any control over the wave, but you definitely know when it's coming. And there's specific things that you can do to heighten this phenomenon, this event. Everybody's experienced a wave of fortune in their life at some point. You probably just didn't know what was going on right at that moment, and then you probably weren't able to fuel it in a way where you could keep it going for an extended period of time. So you got your alternative space, you got top level, you got bottom level. Now the way that you get to the bottom level is you let entities steal your energy from you. This could be you getting overly involved in like politics, media, maybe looking at social media, stuff that's not good for you or isn't in line with your ultimate intentions. This could be you experiencing family problems, relationship problems, professional problems, a boss that's like breathing down your neck or something, you know, is going on and you're losing energy. As you lose energy, you become more susceptible to what we call pendulums. So pendulums' main objective is to take your energy from you and use it to further their own cause. So it's really an energy-based modality where, again, you get your energy, you keep it, and you use it for you. You go up to that top level. You let pendulums take your energy from you to benefit their own cause. You go down to the bottom level. So there is a whole chapter on defeating pendulums, how to take your energy back from these pendulums and keep your level high. Again, if you're at the high level, this is the wave of fortune. If you're at the low level, this is called an induced transition. This is depression. This is anxiety. This is you not living your fullest potential. This is you waking up in the morning and not having energy. After that, there's a concept called the alternatives flow. This is where it really starts to get really good, where you don't have to use, again, your will, your ego, your inner intention, as we call it, which is you having to try to get something done. This is you trusting that your external environment is going to show you all the ways to do the things that are in line with your ultimate intention if it is coming from the heart. If it's not coming from the heart, then you're just going to be like that hamster running on the wheel or that rat running on the wheel. If it's coming from your heart and it's truly intended for you, your world's going to present to you all these different things that you see via your heightened state of awareness that these concepts bring you. When you see these things, you then have the energy to move on them because the pendulums aren't taking that energy from you. So it's kind of just like you move through the concepts, learning them, and each one sort of builds on the next. We have a concept, heart and mind coordination. This is when your heart says yes to something and then your mind also says it's a really good idea. This is how people are really, really successful in this world. Most people either are doing something solely from the mind, the heart's not involved, Or like the starving artist, right? He's doing something totally from the heart, but the mind's not involved. So you have to have both. You have to have the heart and the logic at the same time. We have a concept called goals and doors. Again, this is about you figuring out via your own internal code, if you will, what goal is specifically intended for you in this world. And when you plug in to this goal that's specifically intended for you, it's like a golden pathway sort of just opens up, and then one door opens and then another opens and then another opens, and you don't have to actually try to do anything. You just have to maintain your energy levels and your sense of awareness, stay up on that higher track and not let the pendulums rip you apart, which is what most people are actually doing in life right now. They're getting shredded by pendulums. These are people that are, you know, overly focused on current events, the media, the situation with the pandemic, politics, all this stuff. This is just extracting the energy from the people, and these other entities are sort of getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is what I'm talking about, Kyle, when you said the biggest difference that people see with reality transurfing. It's sort of opening this version of reality of how it actually is functioning. It's kind of like illuminating what is really, really going on in your external environment. And yeah, this is kind of just like a step-by-step sort of thing. You move through the concepts, and it's like, you know, one thing becomes apparent, and then another thing becomes apparent, and then another thing becomes apparent. And before you know it, your state of awareness is kind of skyrocketed, and you're existing in an entirely different reality. I hope that answered your question. Wasn't too long-winded there, Kristen.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. Thank you. I already ordered both of the books. So.
Oh, great, awesome.
I'll be transurfing in no time.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you, Kristen, for that question, and thank you, Renee, for that answer. I think maybe we could get a little book club going as a group, because I think a lot of people are going to be wanting to read this book after this. So does anyone else have any questions? I'm sure there's, Joey. Go ahead, Joey.
Renee, this is dope. But this guy right here, one thing I've discovered is my ego is an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, I love the guy, at the same time he's protecting me, but it's just, how do you get that out of the way? Because it's something that I feel like is getting in my way of it. Because I've been with Kyle on this. I'm learning about it. I've given it a shot. But I still feel like it's getting in my way. And you know what also scares me is that my ego is going to cause me to jump into a reality like you just said that you don't want. I don't want to make a mistake. You know, how do you prevent that stuff?
So I guess what happened for me was I lived a pretty amazing lifestyle before I found reality transurfing. I had managed to find a pretty decent amount of success. I had all the stuff. I had, you know, a name and a business and nice things and money in the bank, but I was totally working from will and ego. And I was like absolutely broken and depleted inside by the time I got to the end of that line, right? When that train came to a halt. Now, when I found transurfing and I really started to understand a couple of the concepts, the alternatives flow, which I just talked about, this is you sort of giving in to what your world is trying to tell you, right? What your world's trying to tell you, where your world's trying to lead you, where you are best suited in your external environment. And then using the power of the world outside of you. The world outside of you has so much, the plans are so much greater than anything you could ever fathom or perceive in your mind. Our minds are extremely limited in nature. They're so limited, we're only able to see like a percentage of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction, yet we feel we have all the answers, right? When you really start to see what your world can do for you and how much better it is, it's not even a matter of trying to tame your ego or your will. It's just being like, oh, this works way better. And then realizing as soon as you turn back around and start again working from that place of will or ego, things start to go back to not being as fun or adventurous or prosperous or whatever it is. It's like, oh, wait a second, why am I doing it like this? It's like the difference between you being behind the wheel of a car that's got like premium fuel, or you pushing the car from behind and trying to go somewhere, right? So pushing the car from behind is you not being in an effective position. It's you not being efficient by any stretch of the imagination. It's you having to use all your physical and mental effort just to go in the right direction. Whereas reality transurfing is you sitting behind the wheel of like a Porsche 911 with premium fuel in it, using your world to do everything that and the main thing here is will and ego, again, are coming from the mind. When you start to involve the voice of your soul or the voice of your heart, and then your mind also goes, yeah, this is a green light, let's go. And then you use reality transurfing, there's like no other kind of, it's no competition. Like once you feel what that actually feels like and you get going on a run and you're like really seeing results. And then, so the reason that I decided to do what I'm doing now is because I found transurfing, I started to do it, I was seeing results, and then I kind of took it for granted and I stopped sort of tuning into the concepts and you really have to immerse yourself. And I kind of let myself go back into my old mindset, and then everything sort of started to look the same and I started to feel tired again and I wasn't seeing results. And I'm like, wait a second, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? I thought that I learned this stuff. But I had switched back, I'd reverted back to that will or ego mode. So then I tapped back into transurfing and I felt that like jet, engine, like propulsion go again. And that happened a few times over the period of like a year. And I was like, okay, now I got to figure out a way to make this permanent because I don't want to go back to that old way of operating. And that's when I decided, well, the best way to make this permanent, not many people had heard about it in the US. I'm like, I'm going to bring it here and I'm going to really try to get the word out as best I can. And I'm going to start instructing people on how to do it. And I'm going to build a social media following and all this stuff. And that's kept me dialed in. So staying dialed into the concepts and knowing when I'm working from that old operating mode. I like to say it's human optimization. It's upgrading your operating system. I was on Renee 1.0 and now I'm on Renee 2.0. Right? It's just an upgraded operating system. So if you decide this is something for you and you want to dive in and you start learning these concepts, you'll quickly see what I'm talking about, these two different modes. And as soon as you start to see yourself doing the will or ego mode, you'll know it. And you'll be like, okay, well, I know that this doesn't actually get me results. So I'm going to go back to this other alternative mode of operating. So it's not so much changing anything about you. It's just knowing there's another heightened way to operate, if you will.
Dope. Oh, I'm into it. I gotta get studying.
We've got a ton of resources. We have a ton of resources. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, join us, and we're getting ready to really rocket ship this thing too. It's getting ready to blow. So if you guys are on at the right time, if anybody wants to watch the show, it's getting ready to pop in the US and worldwide here. So it's pretty good.
Epic. I love it. Thank you, Renee.
Reality Transurfing.
Yeah. Dig.
All right, who's next here? Do you do like a training program where you teach people the steps and then they can teach others? Or
We don't, I mean, I do have a team of instructors that I have been very, very careful to cultivate, simply because this is powerful stuff, and I don't want just lots of people out there doing things with
Right.
people's brains, you know, and realities. It's pretty wild stuff. So I certify a couple people a year to help me. It's very limited. I do have a course that actually just launched on Teachable called Reality 2.0, and it has got absolutely outstanding reviews. I'm so beyond blessed that people are taking this and seeing such results in their life. But yeah, that just kicked off. And yeah, I have a lot of free resources too. I have Transurfing TV. You guys can check that out. Tons of videos. I have like 400. I made like 400 videos in the last 6 months. Me by myself, 400 videos in the last 6 months on Transurfing TV. This is what I'm talking about, Metapower. Like all of a sudden you just kind of like 6 months go by and you look back and you're like, how do I have a Transurfing YouTube channel with 400 videos on there?
Good for
So
you.
tons of free resources. I know a lot of people are like, oh, she's gonna make so much money doing this, and it's like, yeah, you know, I have a lot of expenses, and there definitely are some courses that you could pay for if you wanted to, but there's tons of free stuff too. And you could obviously just read the book and learn it. You don't have to buy anything, but some people like to have the, you know, the tailored curriculum and all that stuff. So it's just really about what you fancy.
Yeah. So that course you were talking about, that would take you through the whole steps and familiarize you with how to really do this on a deep level.
Yep, I got Reality 2.0. It's learning all the core concepts. Then I have my Mo Money course, and that goes specifically into making more money. I've got the Becoming Magnetic course, which is really activating your magnetic qualities as a human being and just sort of attracting more of what you want into your life and to your person. And then I have a seminar on there on the center screen, that center place of awareness, pulling yourself away from that outer screen and out of your inner screen and activating a special place where you can really tap into your maximum effectiveness. So it's yeah, it's comprehensive though. I'm not going to try to, you know, I'm not going to say, hey, you're going to jump into the course and be done in a week. We advise it's going to take people about 3 months to move through all the material at a pace that we recommend. Because again, this stuff is some serious life-changing stuff. So we're not advising anybody to try to zip through it. And yeah, you could probably mess yourself up pretty bad if you were hasty about it. So
yeah. And I know you look up to Vadim Zeland. Is there anyone else that you would recommend us looking into and learning more, just in general, not necessarily even in regards to reality transurfing, but in regards to anything? I always just like to kind of find out who people look up to.
You know, I'll be honest. I don't really come from this world. You know, I know a lot of people talk about like Abraham Hicks and Bashar and all, and I've heard all these names and everything, but what happened with me is I broke myself, and I was fortunate enough to find the remedy very, very quickly, and I haven't needed anything else. So I do know I do know some of the basics of what other people are talking about. Really, the people that inspire me are people that are kind of doing a little bit what I'm doing, like just living. And if for any of you, maybe you know who Dr. Salah El-Rashad is. He's kind of the Deepak Chopra of the Middle East. He's a big one for me, but he's also my friend, and he's just kind of a normal dude that's leading a movement of self-awareness through the Middle Eastern countries, and he's extremely successful in it. So, you know, more like kind of grassroots self-development people, not so much the big names. I love G.I. Gurdjieff. Him and Vadim Zeland have a ton of shared sort of concepts, which is actually very interesting because Vadim Zeland doesn't even know who he is, but then there's a lot of parallels in their teachings. So yeah, it's kind of fascinating how the alternative space is shooting out information to select individuals that's very similar, but these people never, you know, are different generations, different lifetimes. Jeff's been dead for what, 50 years or something. So
that is fascinating. I see, and thank you for that. That's a great answer. I'm gonna look into all those people. Angela has her hand raised, so I'm unmuting Angela.
Hey everybody. Thank you so much for coming on, Renee. This has been really awesome.
Cool.
I've loved listening to you talk and feel very inspired. For sure, I use a lot of, you know, similar concepts like this already, but I'm super excited to try this. Question from a budget standpoint. I see that there's the actual book that's like $30 or $40, and then there's like a 78-day something, which is considerably less expensive. Would you say there would be a benefit to starting with the 78 day one? It's like $10, I think, which would be awesome. Would you say that would like be a benefit of that? Or would you really go for like the big book?
Well, I would definitely recommend the big book. I mean, I've never had such a beautiful moment in my life as reading that book. That book will just out the concept, you know, if I'm saying like importance, right, you're going to be like, well, what does that mean? Or excess potential, what does that mean? So it would help to be well versed. That being said, all of the resources that I've set up, my Instagram account, my Facebook group, everything that I've done is really to aid, because I have a huge Middle Eastern following, and a lot of the people in the Middle Eastern countries don't have access to the books. So
Renee, what is your Instagram handle?
Reality_Transurfing. Actually, I can put the links in the, I'll put the links in the chat below so everybody can follow this stuff. Perfect. We just celebrated 5,000 members yesterday on the Facebook group. So it's, we're rocking and rolling. And it's getting ready to really blow up here pretty soon, because I'm offering a free webinar, and we're taking it next level. So let's see here.
Some wild stuff.
It is pretty wild stuff.
Mm.
I've always been a little bit of an extremist, and I guess when it comes to personal development, I've
go all in, right?
I've gone all in, exactly.
That's like us. Just I won't say who, but one of our members just recently injured themselves doing like the breath. I don't know if you know the Joe Dispenza breath where you squeeze up to your head. We are all extremists. Somebody injured themselves while doing that breath. And then like another thing we like to do is like the ice baths. Like we're just, you know, we're an
ice baths, that's cool.
Yeah, we just want
Kyle,
to be as free
Kyle
as
got dipped out a minute ago. I hopefully didn't get kicked off again.
Oh, did I?
Sorry guys, I'm having a hard time having my computer and phone sync up here. Let me.
Totally cool.
Renee, while you're doing that, I just want to say thank you for coming today to share all this. It's my very first time hearing about it. It resonates with so many other similar things, like the Silva Ultramind.
I was completely on my own. It was a Russian book originally. It had just been translated. And I was like, what in the world is this, you know? But there was no support of any kind. And I felt like, first of all, I felt very alone, because all of a sudden I was seeing things very, very differently. And it was like I had woken up, and everybody else in my life was still seeing things the same way. And I didn't have anybody to talk to about any of the changes in perspective that I was seeing. And it was almost borderline disturbing, because I was like, whoa, have I gone crazy? Like everything seems so different now. And I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. So that's when I decided that I was going to create a community, you know, and the community's gotten so big at this point. It's like, I mean, it's really been just a dream come true for me, because now I have people to talk to about it. I've actually created it on my own, you know. It's amazing. So yeah, I definitely, and of course, like I said, the course is there for everyone, but the free resources, that's really, you know, that's really what we're about.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Of course. There's the Facebook link group, the Facebook group link there. Does everybody see that? Oh, did it not come through?
We don't see it yet.
It came through on my end over here. I don't know if anybody else got it in the chat yet.
Is it an actual link in there though? I don't see it as.
No, it's not coming through as a link. It's just coming through as text.
Yeah.
If you send it to me, Renee, I'll share it on our Facebook page with everybody.
Okay, got it. Yeah, usually I just put it in the chat there, and it comes out as a link. I don't know why it's. Yeah, I'll give you all the links, Kyle.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, that was fantastic. That was definitely one of my favorite meetings, and I'm looking forward to diving into all your material, Renee. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. What we do now is we say a prayer for all those awakening at this time, and Kristen leads that for us. So
Hold on, I just got to pull it up. All right, so I think a lot of us just got our minds like open to this whole new concept of a practice that's like really new to us. Like I know a lot of us have been doing similar stuff, but this is like really a whole new genre of information. So I can't wait to get into those books. And with all that, like that energy that opens the heart, that gets you excited, that really like lights you up and gets you passionate about this work, we take all that energy that's been generated during this meeting and we dedicate the merit of this meeting to all of those who are awakening at this precious time. May our efforts to better ourselves help shift the planetary consciousness from fear into love. May this energy ripple out into the world and awaken those with closed hearts, illuminate closed minds, and inspire all to live within the presence of compassion and generosity.
Love it.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Renee.
Thank you guys. I hope to see you in the community. We would love to have you. And the group's super cool. We have a lot of people from very, very beginner that are just hearing about it to super advanced, like trainers and stuff. So the one cool thing about Transurfers, and I've experienced this firsthand, is we never get tired of talking about transurfing, and we love to answer questions. It's like a really super weird phenomenon where transurfers just love to talk. I mean, I've been talking about it every day for the last 5 years and I've never gotten tired of it. So yeah,
that's awesome.
It's pretty amazing. I'm going to see right now if I can drop this over to the side, guys. Here's a list of links here. And then Kyle, I'll go ahead and just send them over to you.
Awesome.
Yeah, there you go. There.
Perfect.
So that's Transurfing TV on YouTube, the Facebook group, and then the teachable course, if any of you are interested in that. But like I said, we have so many free resources. It's really just whatever you whatever way you like to learn, whatever works for you. So yeah, we have tons of free options. So
thank you so much for joining us. And my buddy Joey here has a nice podcast that I think he's gonna ask you to be on. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely. Because
I can always turn it up a notch too, guys.
Oh yeah, we'll be turning it up a notch on there. I just had Brian Scott on, and his episode releases on Monday, and he apologized to me at the end. He goes, Man, he goes, I think I went a little too far out there on this one. Because I don't know if people are going to be able to handle it. And I go, dude, that's what it's all about. You got to get it out there because no one will know if you don't go out there, you know?
I have to tell you said really something super funny about Brian Scott. I did an interview with him last year before he had his huge following. And I wore pajamas and I was cussing and I was like totally just like, you know, he had like 1,000 people on his YouTube. I thought we were just having a conversation. The thing like went viral and like I look back on the interview and I learned a lesson. I'm like, don't ever assume that you're just having a conversation with someone if it's just like a few hundred followers, because Brian Scott's a reality transurfer too. And look what happened to his